Hello friends, welcome to hopeinfo channel. From this video we are going to talking about the more than 100 questions and answer about the safety interview. What is the safety? Safety is a freedom from unacceptable risk of harm. Scaffolding safety and types of scaffolding. The scaffolding is a temporary structure to support the original structure, as well as workmen use it as a platform to carry on the construction's work. There are various types of scaffolding at the construction's work site. Number one is independent scaffolding, single scaffolding, double scaffolding, and needle scaffolding. What are the responsibilities of HSE officer? The HSE officer acts an advisory capacity to the management and supervisions with regards health and safety environment, monitor and ensure that the activities are being performed with the acceptable safety norm, helping supervisors to identify the hazardous and unsafe conditions and ensuring the rectifications, conducting toolbox meeting, supervisor safety meeting, conducting training in a various topic, conducting safety incentives programs, conducting safety auditing and inspections, conducting risk assessment and GSA, pre-task meeting, and all other projects related safety requirement is to investigate hazards and dangerous occurrences, examine the cause of accident, carry out safety inspections on site, and what remedial steps or actions has been undertaken. At what height full body harness must be utilized? The answer is at the height of 1.8 meter, full body harness must be used to protect the fall hazards. What are unsafe act or unsafe condition? Unsafe act: working without safety precautions or the act which can create the accidents. For example, working at height without any fall protection. Unsafe conditions: the place where hazardous is hitting. For example, working inside the deep trench without sloping. What are the type of work permit normally used in oil and gas industry? There are 5 types of work permits. Hot work permit, the color is red. Cold work permit is green. Radiography permit is yellow. Vehicle or mobile plant entry work permit. Confined space entry permit. What is the cold work or hot work permit and radiography work permit? The cold work permit: any work that does not involve a source of ignition or naked flame or does not have spark generating potential is classified as a cold work permit. Hot work permit: any work which involves the use of naked or a source of ignition or spark generating potential is classified as a hot work permit. Radiography work: any work that involve the use of radioactive source shall be covered by a radiography work. What is the fire triangle? The fire triangle is a diagram that represented the 3 components that creates a fire, such as oxygen, air, fuel, and heat, source of ignition. Absence of any of the components, the fire would not occur. What is the PPE? Personal protective equipment. PPE is equipment used to protect the persons from hazards such as dust, dirt, foams, and spark. It's the barrier between the hazard and the person. What is the confined space? Any enclosure having a limit mean of enter and exit, and it's not designed for continuous occupancy. For example, process vessel, tanks, bins, stack, large pipe, dock, pits, and trench. Any excavations with the depths more than 1.2 meter. What are the confined space hazards? A confined space may have one or combinations of the following hazards: oxygen deficiency, presence of flammables, combustibles or pyrophobic materials, HC and sludge, presence of toxic gas, corrosive or hazardous material like H2S, CO and NH3, poor eliminations, ventilations and communications, high temperature and humidity, limited entry and exit, restricted access, restricted movement inside, falling or tripping hazards, presence of reactive or self-igniting material, hazards due to electricity or moving machinery, hazard due to pressurized fluid, hazard due to nature of work carried out inside confined space. What are the important precautions for a confined space? Number 1, permit must be procured for operations, making sure of the following: complete isolation of the space to be entered, draining, depressurizing, and purging or cleaning should be performed. Gas tests should be conducted to ensure no hazardous atmosphere in the present space ventilations. Number 2 is a pre-task meeting must be conducted with all authorized entrants prior to entering confined space. The attended standby man shall be assigned at the entrance to maintain communication with the employees working inside to ensure their safety. Safety attendant must be trained and authorized to use gas testing equipment. Entrants must wear body harness. Depending on the situations, emergency rescue team may be put on standby. What is the H2S and its characteristics? Explain. H2S is produced or generated by decomposition of organic material. It's a highly toxic gas and highly flammable. It smells like rotten eggs at low concentrations and not detectable by odor at high concentrations. It's highly flammable at 4.3% to 45.5% by volume in air. It's colorless and it's heavier than air, 1.19. It's highly soluble in water and other liquid. When burned or flared, it forms sulfur dioxide, SO2, which is also colorless and highly toxic gas. The exposure limit, 10 ppm, is the maximum allowed for 8 hours. What are the LEL, LFL, and UEL and UFL? Lower explosive limit or lower flammable limit, minimum concentrations of vapor or gas in air which will burn when a source of ignition is introduced. Upper explosive limit, UEL, or upper flammable limit, maximum vapor or gas to air concentrations above which flammable propagations will not occur. The mixture is too rich to burn. Note: flammable gas detector meters measures percentage of LEL. Explosive range lower and upper for different gas. Flammable gas, hydrogen sulfate H2S, 4.5 LEL, 45.5 UEL. Sulfur dioxide SO2, ammonia NH3, 15% LEL and 28% UEL. Chlorine Cl2, carbon monoxide CO, acetylene C2H2, 2.5% LEL and 80% UEL. Methane CH4, natural gas, 5% LEL and 15% UEL. Petrol or gasoline, 1.4% LEL and 7.6% UEL. What is the work method statement? A document showing the various methods through which a particular work is accomplished. It also provides sections for the safety measure for this activity. What is the GSA and its usage? Job safety analysis, GSA, is a part of many existing accident prevention programs. In general, GSA breaks a job into basic steps and identifies the hazards associated with each step. It also prescribes control for each hazard. What is a work permit? A written document authorizes a person or a group to performing maintenance, inspection, testing, or construction work. What is a lifting plan? It's a document describing the plan for a safe lifting. It shows the detail of the crane to be used, lifting tackles to be used, detail of the load, detail of crane setup, lifting steps. What are the prominent HTS hazards? Eyes and respiratory irritations, dizziness, headache, nausea, abdominal pain, loss of consciousness, brain damage, possible death or fatal. Define TLV, TWA, STEL, and IDLH. Time, weight, average, TWA, concentrate of the contaminant in air over the normal work shift of 8 hours, to which worker can be exposed without respiratory protection in a 40-hour work week. Short-term exposure limit, STEL, when exposed only for a short period of 50 minutes, this maximum concentrations can be allowed to breathe 4 times during 8 hours with a minimum 1 hour interval between the exposure. Minimum concentration of contaminant in air, which is immediately dangerous to life and health. Not air supplied respirator are required in IDLH atmosphere. What are the LEL, LFL, and UEL and UFL? Lower explosive limit or lower flammable limit, minimum concentrations of vapor or gas in air which will burn when a source of ignition is introduced. Upper explosive limit, UEL, or upper flammable limit, maximum vapor or gas to air concentrations above which flammable propagations will not occur. The mixture is too rich to burn. Note: flammable gas detector meters measures percentage of LEL. What is the work method statement? A document showing the various methods through which a particular work is accomplished. It also provides a sections for the safety measure for this activity. What is the GSA and its usage? Job safety analysis, GSA, is a part of many existing accident prevention programs. In general, GSA breaks a job into basic steps and identifies the hazards associated with each step. It also prescribes control for each hazard. What is a work permit? A written document authorizes a person or a group to performing maintenance, inspection, testing, or construction work. What is a lifting plan? It's a document describing the plan for a safe lifting. It shows the detail of the crane to be used, lifting tackles to be used, detail of the load, detail of crane setup, lifting steps. What are the prominent HTS hazards? Eyes and respiratory irritation, dizziness, headache, nausea, abdominal pain, loss of consciousness, brain damage, possible death or fatality. Define TLV, TWA, STEL, and IDLH. Time, weight, average, TWA, concentrate of the contaminant in air over the normal work shift of 8 hours, to which worker can be exposed without respiratory protections in a 40-hour work week. Short-term exposure limit, STEL, when exposed only for a short period of 50 minutes, this maximum concentrations can be allowed to breathe 4 times during 8 hours with a minimum 1 hour interval between the exposure. Minimum concentration of contaminant in air, which is immediately dangerous to life and death, to life and health. Not air supplied respirator are required in IDLH atmosphere. What is the rigging and slinging? Rigging and slinging is a part of mechanical handling activity that involves lifting and shifting of heavy material through the safe use of equipment, machinery, or device such as crane, wire rope, hook, shackle, chain, pulley. What are the potential hazards during lifting operations? Accident, hit or crash by hanging load, falling object, collapse of lifting equipment due to overload, overturning of the crane, failure of lifting gear such as wire rope, hook, shackle, eye bolt, chain. What is the flash point, FP? Minimum temperature, that which a flammable mixture of a gas or vapor in air which momentarily flash when a source of ignition spark is introduced. What is the auto-ignition temperature, IIT? Minimum temperature required to initiate self-sustained combustions of a solid, liquid or gas in the absence of a source of ignition. What are the hazards associated with the electricity? Inadequate wire, exposed electrical spark, wire with a bad insulation, underground electrical system and toll, overload circuits, damaged power tool and equipment, using the wrong PPE and toll, overhead power line. All hazards are made worse in a wet condition. What are the fall protection system? Safety belt, safety harness, lifeline, safety net, guard rail system. What is the color coding system? All tools and equipment are inspected periodically by concerned competent persons and color codes accordingly. What are the safety precautions you will take for a temporary electrical connections? Temporary wiring shall be guarded or isolated by elevating to prevent accident contact with the workman or equipment. Vertical clearness above walkway shall not be less than 3 meters or 10 feet for circuits carrying 600 volts or less. Wire shall is insulated from their support. Temporary piston lightning string shall be made up with the cords having lamp sockets and connections protected by insulating covering. Extension cords shall be of approved type and used for the purpose for which they are made. Exposed empty light socket and broken bulbs shall be prohibited. What is the different class of fire and type of fire? Class A, carbon-based combustible material like wood, rubber, paper, fabric. Class B, liquid, petrol or oil or thinner. Class C, gases, acetylene, propane, LPG, butane. Class D, metal, solid, sodium, potassium, magnesium, requires special extinguishing agent. Class E, fire involving energized electrical equipment as electrical cable, electrical motor. What are the methods or modes for fire can spread? Fire can be spread by one or more of the following modes. Conduction. Heat from one body is transferred to another by direct contact. Convection. Heat is transferred by a circulating medium, either a gas or liquid. Radiation. Heat is transferred from one body to another by heat ray, a medium in between. Define near-miss, incident, and accident. Near-miss is an incident which resulted in no injury or illness and or no damage to people, asset, the environment, or company reputation. For example, a water tanker incident is any unwanted and unplanned occurrence or event which results or could have a result to physically injure or death to person or damage property or environment. For example, slipping and breaking an arm. Accident is undesired, unplanned occurrence which resulted to an injury or death to a person or damage to a property or environment. For example, a car collided with another vehicle. What are the requirements for a man basket? Valid third-party certification, SWL, safe work load, market on the side, proper tagline. What is the lifeline? Wherever no other fall arrest systems are feasible, lifeline can be provided with the wire rope. The lifeline should be able to support minimum of 5,000 pounds per person's hooking. What are the unsafe act and unsafe conditions? Unsafe act, working without safety precautions or the act which can be created accident. For example, working at height without any fall protections. Unsafe condition, the place where a hazard is hitting. For example, working inside the deep trench without sloping or shoring. In a case of fire accident, gas leak or explosions, what you will do? Inform the nearest fire stations. All running equipment must be put off. All people have to evacuate in the crosswind directions and calmly walk to the assembly area. Their own instructions will mount on the available transport. The transport will take all to a safe area. Every section will have a head count by section head or timekeeper or check that anyone missing or not. If anyone get hurt during explosions or gas leak or fire or accident, will be evacuated to the nearest medical center after giving first aid by qualified first aider or doctor. Emergency officer will give clear instruction of situation improved or all will be evacuated to a safe area. All will wait in a safe area until further instructions come from the emergency officer for either to return back to the work or to a safe area. What are the safety precautions taking gas welding and cutting? Any hot work will start with a valid hot work permit. Frequent gas tests to be carried out. In a gas welding or cutting operations, the oxyacetylene flames shall be ignited by the lighter specially designed. The pressure regulator and gauge shall be suitable and in a good working condition. The cylinder valve must be closed before the regulator is removed. Flashback arrestor should be fitted both end with the hose to prevent flashback. The adequate ventilation must be provided to expel toxic gas or fumes if activities carried out inside a tank, vessel, any confined space. What are the welding and cutting hazards? Risk due to toxic gas and fumes generated while welding or cutting. Fire or explosion started by flame, spark, and hot material from the activities. Electrical shock from or welding equipment. Burn hazards due to heat generated while welding or cutting. Weld bead, particular or slag entering unprotected eye during chipping. Inhalations of welding fumes. Falling gas cylinder, radiations from UV and infrared flash eye. What will be your action if someone informs you about the accident? Ask him the location of the accident and the detail. After reaching the location, analyze the situations. If someone gets hurt during accident, must be evacuated to the nearest medical center after giving first aid by a qualified first aider or a doctor. Report to the client HSE specialist and concerned project manager. Investigate the accident and prepare it an accident report with the attached sketch and supporting document and submit to client HSE department. If the accident is major like explosions, heavy fire, heavy gas leak, then seek help from the nearest fire station. What is the wind speed limit during the rigging? The lifting will be stopped if the wind speed is 32 km per hour or 20 mil per hour and 8.99 meter per second. What is the pyrophoric scale? Pyrophoric scale is actually iron sulfide FeS2 which developed inside the pipeline or piping system. It will readily ignite when exposes air or oxygen, exothermic reactions, heat releasing. Hydrogen sulfide H2S or any sulfur compound, when it reacts with the iron, it will form pyrophoric iron sulfide. It's highly flammable even exposure to the air. The best way to handle is to dose it with water and keep it thoroughly wetted until a safe disposal. In a pipeline or equipment which carry gas or liquid and which contain hydrogen sulfide H2S, pyrophoric scales or iron sulfide FeS2 might be present. What is the MSDS? Material Safety Data Sheet MSDS detailed information about the physical and chemical characteristics of the chemical as well as the health, safety, fire, reactivity, and environmental hazards and its precautions. It's provided by manufacturer. 3 types of evidence used for auditing management system: documentation, interview, and observation. What is the EOD And what will be your responsibility if an EOD identified? EOD is a stand for explosive ordnance disposal. In a case of an EOD identified or an unidentified object find, mark the area so as to relocate it. Keep away the all worker from the particular area. If possible, detail a watchman and inform respective area fire situations with the clear detail. Stop all activity at the location until clearly by ordnance disposal squad. What is the risk assessment? The document prepared before starting the job for assessing the risk involving in the various steps of the particular job and to find the necessary remedial measure. Define lookout tagout LO2O system. Lookout and tagout is a process to block the flow of energy from the source, and it will locate with the lock system or padlock for not restore the energy, and this should be tagged on it. The tag will be as warning to do not operate it. Look and tags will be normally be removed only by the persons who installed them whenever possible. Before lookout and tagout, make sure that valid isolation permit being obtained. Define chemical hazard identification tag. Chemical hazard identification tag or hazardous materials classification tag is a warning tag to inform it that how much hazardous is the materials contained. For example, fire, health, and reactivity or specific hazards. It's color coded: red for fire, blue for health, yellow for radioactivity, white for specific hazards like oxidizer, alkali, acid, and corrosive. What are the safety precautions to the taking while performing lifting operation? The load is clear of any obstructions. The load is securely slung. Use high rope. The security of the load is to be reconfirmed once the load is raised a few inches. The crane is not used to drag the load or pull the sling beneath a few inches. No movement is allowed under the suspended load. Barricade the swing radius of the crane. Never sling different sides of tubular together. The crane hook is the central position over the load. All equipment must be inspected by third party and validity of inspections must be checked. What are the potential hazards while performing lifting operations? Accident, hit or crash by hanging load, falling object, collapse of lifting equipment due to overload, overturning of the crane, failure of the lifting gears such as wire ropes, hook, shackle, eye-bolt chain. What is the dead man switch and what is the use of it? The dead man switch is a control switch which is connected with the sand blasting nozzle gun to control the flow from the sand blasting nozzle gun while sand blasting. In a case the hose nozzle loses from the sand blaster hand, automatically the system will cut off and the individual and the property will be saved. What is the housekeeping? A place for everything and everything in it a place before starting the job, during the job and after completion of the job. Housekeeping should be done. Waste material and rubbish are a fire and accident hazard. What is the non-hazardous waste? Unwanted material or substance other than the hazardous. They could be in the form of solid, sludge, slurry, and liquid. The exceptions are material for reuse or reprocessing, sulfur or expired material that are returned to the manufacturer or sulfur. What is the hazardous waste? Any waste, solid, sludge, slurry, and liquid, which is either combustible, explosive, inflammable, corrosive, or reactive or toxic. What's the reduction minimization? Process of reducing the quantity of waste product through the review of operations practice, better inventory control, and optimal use of raw materials. Reuse the reuse of a material on more than one occasion. Recycle reprocessing of waste into the same or different product. Typical recyclable waste include oil, glass, paper, plastic. Recovery the process process of obtaining materials or energy value from collected waste for use or reuse. Enlist 5 main responsibility of permit application. All the required information as stipulated in the permit must be entered before the permit is submitted for approval and authorization. Any required property work must be stipulated in the permit application. All personnel under his responsibility must be advised or their responsibility under work permit system. No job can be being until he is satisfied that the worksite supervisor understands his responsibility under work permit system. The safety gear and appliances required for the work must be available. Enlist 5 main responsibility of work of permit issuer. All hazards associated with the proposed work have been identified. Before any work being, the work site is safely prepared, examined, and all specified precautions have been taken. Work permit that may interact effect on another are cross-referred clearly. The work is examined to ensure that it is in a safe and acceptable condition. When work is suspended before restarting the work, when returning to normal operation, the shift change handover is properly followed and permit endorsement and transfer of responsibility have been completed. Enlist the 5 main responsibility of work site supervisor. He was detailed working knowledge of procedure related to his work activity. He does not start any job requiring work permit until it is authorized and issued. He understands the limitations and restrictions of the work permit in order that the work party may proceed safely. All members of the work party adhere to a safe working practice and are fully conversant with the limitations, restrictions, and hazards involved. All precautions specified in the work permit are taken. In which situation a chain strap for a helmet is compulsory, high wind time, and working at high. What are the contents of SCBA? Compressed air cylinder, full face piece, air supply hose, pressure regulator, low pressure alarm, pressure gauge. What is the function of the escape respirator? Providing sufficient time to a person for escape from a suddenly occurring respiratory hazards. When performing the grinding work by hand grinding, what are the hazards will you expect? Eye injury due to flying particle or metal chips, wheel bursting, electric shock, cloth cut. What are the parameters of risk management? Identifying, evaluating, recover, mitigate, and prevent. Describe 2 types of CO2 system and their application. CO2 is contained in a pressure cylinder and is released by a squeeze trigger mechanism through a horn type applicator, which is using for electrical fire. Plain water pellet by a pressure released from a CO2 cartridge, which is using for a normal fire. What is a flashback arrestor? It's a valve which is protect the cylinder from backfire. It's called NRV, non-return valve. What is your understanding about HSE awareness? Right in full detail. Promoting and disseminating the health, safety, and environment program. Why remove your gloves before you remove your goggle? To prevent contaminations of the face or eyes by a substance or substances that are on your gloves. Give 2 reasons why all accidents should be reported immediately. Number 1, so that an investigation to find the cause may be instituted. Number 2 is so that injuries may be attended to. What are 2 main precautions must be taken when using a safety belt? Number 1 is should be fastened to a secure point. Number 2 is the free fall should be keep it to a minimum. Give 2 reasons for an investigation of an accident. Find the cause. Number 2, prevent recurrence. Give 2 reasons why you should not wear a ring while working on a machine. Number 1 is it may increase the risk of an accident. Number 2, it make a minor accident worse. Give a 4 consequence of an accident. Number 1 is pain and suffering, loss of working and wage, loss of productions, damage to plant, non-productive losses. What are the immediate and ultimate objective of an accident investigations? Qualified your answer. Immediate objective is to get accurate information about the cause and circumstance of the accident. The ultimate objective is to prevent a future recurrences of the similar accident, to uncover new hazards and to devise methods to control these hazards. State 4 methods that can be utilized to prevent a new worker to an area suffering accident. Number 1 is train them in a new work location process. Put them in charge of an experienced worker. Instructed them in a danger and the precautions to take. Ensure that they have adequate supervision. Name 4 ways whereby one could prevent accident: good housekeeping, good maintenance, secure guarding, cleanliness, controlling environment conditions. Give a 3 reasons for a supervisor to be concerned with the safety of his workforce. He is responsible for the health and safety of his workforce, to increase the moral well-being of her workforce, to minimize accident, pain and suffering, weeks, losses. Give a 4 general requirement for grain storage: dry, well-ventilated, vermin-proof, constructed with reinforced concrete wall. Give 2 reasons why chemical container should be clearly marked with approval code: to identify the content, to indicate which are hazardous, to single necessary precautions to comply with the regulations. Name 2 essential things you should do before working on a pipeline: isolate it, drain it, clean it, determine content. Give 4 possible hazards associated with the usage of gas cylinder. Some gas are stored at high pressure, leak of flammable or toxic gas, gas cylinder exposed to high temperature, liquid flow from acetylene cylinder, lack of cylinder identifications, handling and transporting heavy cylinders. What are the safe oxygens limited for entering to a confined space without an air supply? Not less than 19%, but it's important to know what has reduced the oxygen level. What is the difference between a hazard and hazardous? Hazard is a potential to cause harmful effect. Hazardous means potentially harmful. What is the difference between toxic and toxicity? Toxic means the ability to cause harmful health effect. Toxicity is a measure of the degree to which something is toxic. Name 3 of the factors on which the severity of a chemical burn depend: corrosiveness of the chemical, concentrations of the chemical, temperature of the chemical, duration of the contact, area or extent of the burn. What is a foam cup burn? A special ventilated and enclosed area in which laboratory work with harmful gas and vapor can be carried out safely. Name 6 hazards that could be associated with liquid from an identified overhead pipeline. It could be corrosive, it could be give off toxic fumes, it could be flammable, it could be scaled, it could create a blinding hazard, it may cause an electrical short circuit, it may react chemically with material on the floor. What is a safety data sheet? A safety data sheet, SDS, formally material safety data sheet, is a very stop for safety information about any chemical. SDS are likely instructions manual for chemical. What are the 16 sections of SDS? Number 1 is identification of the substance or preparations and of the company or undertaking. Hazardous identifications, compositions or information of on ingredient, first aid measure, firefighting measure, accidental release measure, handling and storage, exposure control or personal protective, physical and chemical properties, stability and reactivity, toxicologically information, ecologically information, disposal considerations, transport information, regulatory information, other information. Give each safety recommendation which should be applied to a chemical store. The chemical should be stored by categories: corrosive, toxic, reactive, flammable. Do not have shelf above shoulder height. Separate all reactive and non-compatible. Provide an adequate ventilation system. Firefighting equipment should be designed specifically for the store and its content. The store structure should be fire resistant. The content should be identified and listed externally. Safety shower and eye wash facilities must be provided. Electric service to flame-proof standards. What is the barrier cream? It's a cream which is sprayed upon a hand and forearm to protect the skin from the effects of the work and to enable the hands to be easily cleaned. What is the Safe Pass? Safe Pass is a one-day safety awareness program aimed at all who work on construction site. List 3 of duties of a safety officer on a construction site. Advise the contractor on how to comply with relevant statutory provisions. Exercise general supervision of the compliance with relevant statutory provision. Promote safety conduct at work generally. Cooperate with any safety advisor appointed under statutory provisions in relation to a safety, health and welfare at work on the project. There are 6 precautions that can be taken to prevent fall from mobile elevated work platform. A guardrail and mid-rail round each of the baskets to stop the user falling. A slip resistance floor. Toy board round each of the platform. Deadman controls clearly marked to show their method of operation. Use of stability device. Outrigger provide to make the machine stable, which are interlocked such that the MEWP will not operate unless they are fully extended. Locking out control other than those in the basket prevent inadvertent tenant. Give a two-way to make an electrically driven machines safe to do maintenance work on. Look out the switch with unlock. Remove the fuse. Name 4 factors that increase the seriousness of electrical shock: voltage, moisture on the skin, damp surrounding, AC or DC current, health of individual, magnitude of current. Name 4 main requirements of an electric isolation request permit: to nominate the precious plant to be isolated, to nominate a detail and time for the isolation, to nominate the type of isolation required, for example fuse or cable, to get an acknowledgement when the isolation is complete, to de-isolate and restore power to the equipment when safe to do so. Poor lighting result in a four-wheel identified an undesirable consequence: fatigue, error, stress, accident. Give a 4 possible reactions of an individual stress: physical reactions, psychological reactions, emotional reactions, and behavioral reactions. Give a 4 environmental factors which should be considered in an ergonomic assessment: noise, humidity, vibrations, light, temperature, ventilation. Here we come to the end of the video. Do not forget to subscribe and like my channel to get more knowledge. Until another video, have a good times and bye.